Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is a controller for a video game. It's actually for my son's Oculus Quest 2 VR headset. So it has a headset and it has two controllers. And today we're going to be making a little peripheral for this VR setup. And I thought you might be interested in it. So, that's what we're going to do today. So, to give you a bit of backstory, there's a game he likes playing, well, there's quite a few games he likes playing. One in particular is called Hot Dogs and Hand Grenades, which some of you may be familiar with. I've not really played it myself, but from what I understand of it, it's basically like a shooting game. And it has a whole bunch of different guns, virtual guns, that you can use in the game. And shoot things. And there's like handguns and rifles and shotguns and, you know, just a huge plethora of weapons. And the way it works is you have obviously a controller in each hand, and that's how you like hold and operate the guns. So if it's a pistol, you hold it and you shoot it like that, and you've got the other controller that you can use to like rack the slide and change magazines and all that kind of stuff. And that's all fine. The issue that he's had is when using some of the long guns, you have to hold both controllers like in a position like you're holding a gun, and it can be quite awkward to, you know, like keep your hands in the right place. So he asked me if there was something we could do to, you know, fix that. So we had a look online, and there are peripherals you can buy. Gun stocks, basically, Oculus gun stocks. We had a look, we found some on Amazon and places like that, and they are, like many things, very expensive. And I looked at them and I looked at some of the reviews, and a lot of people said, oh yeah, it's a great bit of kit, but it's a bit flimsy, it's all made of plastic, blah blah blah. So I thought, well, maybe I could 3D print one. So I had a look, and I found one on Thingiverse, which is under the name of, hang on, what is it? Sanlaki. I'll put a description in the a link in the description if I remember. So I 3D printed that, and I'm going to put it together, and I thought you might be interested in it. So let me put this to one side. So basically what we've got, these are they hold the controllers. So the way it works is that basically clips. I need to make sure I've got the right one for the controller. No, see, that's got an L on it. This is the right hand control, so it's this one. So basically you just squeeze it together, drop that in there, and it clicks on, and it holds the controller. And then what you do is you fit a magnet in the top here, which we'll do in a minute, and that then allows you to magnetically attach the controller to the gun stock, and this will all become clear as we progress. So we've got the controller holders, and then we have various other bits. So we've got the actual buttstock, then there's a bit that goes like that, and then there's a bit that goes on the front. I'll have to kind of move this across as I'm going, give you an idea. That goes on like that. The first controller goes here, and I'll explain how this all fits in a second. And then you've got this bit, which is in a spectacular pink. I'll explain why in a minute. That goes in the end of there. And then on the front you have a little muzzle device, which is there basically just for looks. And the way you connect it all together is with these pipes. Now, I've got 3 of these. And this is all explained in the instructions that came with the 3D files. But this pipe is what I believe is known in heating and plumbing circles as half-inch barrel. But it's this is shot blasted steel pipe, and the threads on the end are half-inch BSP, British Standard Pipe Thread. And I don't know if you can see it very well. That one's a bit grubby, I'm afraid. But there's a thread inside various parts, and basically these bits, they're threaded to accept these pipes. So you can just screw them on like that. And the way it works is you've got this short pipe goes in between these two pieces like that and holds them together. Then you've got one of the long pipes goes on the back, screws into there and goes into the back of there, and so on and so forth. And then the other one is kind of like the barrel. But basically the way it works is, because this is steel pipe, when we take the controller mounts, as I mentioned earlier, we put a magnet in there, fix it in, and what it allows you to do is basically clip the controller onto the gun stock. That's why these parts are steel and not plastic. And then if you need to take the controller off, so for example, if you've got a rifle, say, you know, something with a magazine, if you need to change the magazine, you're holding the gun like that. When you need to change the magazine, you can unclip this controller, go through the motions, change the magazine, and then click it back on again. That's the whole point of the thing. And obviously if it's a shotgun, you can use it to rack the slide and things like that. So that's how it all works. So I've obviously printed these parts. I've given them a little bit of a clean up. I've not gone mad with it because there's no need really. But what I'm going to do is, I printed these in green. This was a test piece that I printed because it was the smallest piece. And I printed this piece because I wanted to make sure I knew what pipe thread to get. And at the time I happened to have pink filament on the printer, so I printed this bit in pink and I printed the rest of it in green. And then my son said, oh, actually I'd have quite liked the whole thing pink, but nah, whatever, I'm not printing it all again. And I'm also not printing this part again because basically there's no point. So I'm going to paint this part green to kind of match the rest of it, and I'm also going to paint these pipes black, just, you know, for the hell of it. And then once I've got those painted, which I'll do off camera, we'll look at fitting the magnets into the controllers. That's going to be the main job. So let me go away and paint these bits and this bit, and while they're drying, we'll have a look at the controller mounts. So just as a quick aside, while I'm doing this, what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to put some masking tape around the threads, because obviously I don't want those getting all full of paint. So I'm just going to put a bit of tape around the end of each piece of pipe, and that's just to stop the threads getting all clogged up with paint. So I'll do all of these, and as I say, I'll get these painted up, and while they're drying we'll move on to the other bits. Just for an aside, for paint, for the black I've used this high coat, it's just matte black, and for the green I've used this Tamiya olive drab, simply because I had it and it's a fairly close match to the other green. So that's what I've used to paint those. They're now painted, they're just hanging up to dry, and now we can start having a look at the controller mounts. So for the controller mounts, they are left and right handed. They do actually have an R and an L inside, and the other thing that differentiates them is they are slightly different at the top. So I bought some magnets. These are the magnets that are already getting covered in dust. That's useful. Basically these are neodymium magnets that I found, and the nice thing about these is they're coated in rubber. One of the problems you can have with rare earth magnets is sometimes they can like chip and crack if they're like clacked together too much, which is obviously what's going to happen with these. So I found these ones that are rubber coated, and they have a thread inside them. So what I'm going to do, because in the design the guy had one that had like a countersunk hole, and he put a screw through, and you can see there's like a little divot in the middle there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little divot in the middle for a screw to go in. But the trouble is it's only plastic, and I'm just worried that the screw's going to pull out. So I got these ones, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through the whole thing and put a bolt through from the other side. So that will basically sit in there like that, and it's nicely level with the cutout. And then I'll drill a hole through the bottom, and I'll put a bolt through it. So what I'm going to do, let me get a bolt and I'll show you. It's probably the easiest thing. Right, so I've just set up a hand drill with a 5.5mm bit, and what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of scrap MDF here, because I'd rather do this in the drill press, but it's going to be really awkward because there's like really awkward compound cut or hole to drill. So I'm going to do it by hand, and I'm just going to basically put this piece of MDF behind it to back it, and hopefully I can drill through this without drilling into my fingers. So let's see how we go. Right, that seems to have worked. Ah, perfect. There you go. Right, I'll do the other one and then we'll clean the holes up, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Right, so I've drilled the hole and cleaned it out, as you've seen. I've got a couple of Allen bolts here, or well, they're pan head bolts, and I had to cut them down a bit because the ones I had, the shortest ones I had were 20mm, and they need to be a bit shorter, so I've just cut them down a bit. You might be wondering why there's a nut on there, and this is a trick I learnt a long time ago when I was doing my apprenticeship actually. When you cut a thread, if you run a nut onto the thread first, then cut it off, when you unscrew the nut, what it will do is if there are any little burrs in the thread, it will clean it off, and it makes it much easier to get the cut thread started in whatever you're trying to screw it into, which in this case will be this magnet. So now it should just thread into there very nicely, you see. I mean, obviously I've cleaned up the end of the thread with a grinder, but it still helps to do that. It just makes it a bit easier. So what we're going to do now is hope that I haven't cut this bolt too short. So we'll just drop. The problem is at the moment is that the flat bottom of this part here is at a different angle to this. It was obviously not designed to have a bolt through it, but I think it will be okay, but it just might take a bit of finagling to get it started, but we'll see what we can do with it. I think that's got it. See, the problem is you can't hold this very well to stop it from turning, but it should be alright. Let's just see if we can nip that up a bit. I don't want to over tighten it because I don't want to crack the plastic. Right, that seems to have got it. Right, let's give it a little test. I've got another piece of pipe here. This was a spare bit that I got, and that should now click onto there like that, you see. And that will hold it quite firmly in place, but you can pull it off if you need to, you see. Like that. Right, let's do the other one. See, I could have just gone out and bought some shorter bolts, but it seems a bit excessive when I already have some, and I didn't want to have to wait for them to turn up, so... Now this one, as I mentioned before, has a smaller hole. This is for the left controller, so this will be the one that goes at the front. So the reason they made this smaller is so you can put a weaker magnet on it, which is this small one here. So it's the same deal, it's just a smaller diameter. Because this is going to have to come on and off more than the other one, the idea is that having a smaller magnet means it won't grip as well. So nip this one up as well. Like I say, I don't want to over tighten it because it'll crack the plastic. I think that's got it. Right, let's try this one. Yeah, that should work alright. And I mean, if it doesn't, I'll just have to get some stronger magnets. But that seems to work alright. So all we've got to do now is wait for the paint to dry on the other bits and then put it together. Right, this part's dried now, the paint's dry, so what I've got to do now is stick this in here to join these two pieces together, so I'm just going to use some Araldite for that. So this is just 5-minute epoxy. It's kind of annoying because it is very cold here in the workshop, so I'm not quite sure how well this is going to go, but... And while I'm just doing this, I'd like to take a moment to thank my top tier patrons, Amy, Edwin and Howard, for their ongoing support. It is, as ever, much appreciated. Thanks, guys. There's the trouble with mixing this stuff when it's when it's cold, is it's very, very thick and sticky. But it should be alright. Right, I'll just wipe off the excess and then we'll leave that to dry. Right, so all the paint's dry on everything now, and the glue's dry on these other bits, on this bit, so we can put this together. I'm thinking actually what I might do, I'm not sure yet, I might actually give all these bits a lick of this olive drab just to unify the colours, but we'll put it together first and see what it looks like. So, it's very straightforward. Just drop that in. Tighten that up. Now obviously we don't need to over tighten it too much because we don't want to pull the threads out of any of this because it's only plastic. It doesn't need to be done up super tight. Like that. And then the short piece goes in here. That pushes onto there like that, and they screw the barrel into the end of here, like that, and then the muzzle device goes on the end. Like that. And there we go. You can see why I'm filming this on the other side of the workshop now, because this thing is quite a length. And then we have our two controller mounts, and they just snap on wherever you need to put them, like that, you see. So I've only got one controller here at the moment. It's kind of ironic really with this that on the one time we actually got round to doing this, one of the controllers has actually developed a fault and we've had to send it back to Oculus to be replaced. But I'll give you an idea anyway. So that just goes on like that, you see. And there we have it. So, yeah, I think that's worked out quite well. And so, obviously, you hold it like that, and you can shoulder it and do whatever you need to do with it. So yeah, I think we can wrap this up. And here is our finished article. I think this has come out quite well, all things considered. Wasn't too difficult to make, just took quite a long time to print it, but aside from that, it's gone quite well. The only thing I'm not 100% sure of is I think we might need to get some stronger magnets. I think it's going to come apart a little bit easier than I had anticipated, but I have got some other magnets, so anyway, my son can try it and see how he gets on with it. He's quite pleased with it. So as I mentioned, we've actually had to send one of the controllers off to be replaced, so we'll actually have to wait for that to come back before we can try it out properly. But yeah, I think it's come out quite well. And the nice thing is, because of the way the pipes work that hold it together, you can adjust the length of pull and things like that if you want to. If you want to make the stock longer or shorter or whatever, that's done fairly easily. So I'll put a link in the description, as I mentioned, to the to where I got the print from, and also where I bought the pipes from. And you can buy the pipes in different lengths, so you get them and they come threaded on both ends, so they're very easy to get what you want. So yeah, I know this isn't perhaps the most exciting video in the world, but it's a project I've been wanting to do for a while for my son, and as I said, he's very pleased with it. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. You're all, as ever, welcome to join us on the staff canteen on Facebook, and my usual little beg, if you want to come and join us on Patreon, you're more than welcome. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.